Most drivers think oil changes and check engine lights, but your modern car is hiding way more than that. Today's engines talk to 20 to 50 control modules, run millions of calculations per second, and use tricks you're never told about like changing timing, cutting fuel, even faking smoothness to save themselves or quietly punish bad habits. We'll walk through 7 under-the-radar features your mechanic rarely explains. Let's start the countdown. Let's kick things off with a silent engine guardian you've definitely felt but never knew existed. Number 7. The self-tuning knock sensor brain your engine never talks about. Here's the wild part. Your engine is constantly changing its own timing while you drive, and if something goes wrong, it quietly pulls power away without ever telling you. Most drivers think their car just feels a little weak today. In reality, the engine might be fighting off detonation, one of the fastest ways to crack pistons or beat up bearings. Inside the block, there's a tiny microphone bolted to the metal. That's the knock sensor. It listens for the sharp ping of abnormal combustion. When it hears even a hint of trouble, the computer instantly retards spark timing. You don't see a warning light, you just feel a lazy throttle, weak hill climbs, or a sudden drop in fuel economy. What makes this feature powerful and hidden is how adaptive it is. It learns each cylinder separately. One might get extra advanced because it runs cooler. Another might be permanently backed off because it's building carbon deposits. Your engine ends up with a secret, constantly moving timing map that changes with fuel quality, heat, load, and even weather. You'll notice it most when conditions are bad. Cheap fuel, a clogged radiator, or high intake temps? The engine yanks timing so aggressively that towing suddenly feels harder, or the car gets sluggish in summer traffic. It's protecting itself, but you pay for it with performance and mileage. The fix is simple. Give the engine fewer reasons to panic. Use fuel that matches your car's needs, keep the cooling system healthy, and don't ignore early signs of knocking or heat soak. When the knock sensor isn't constantly firefighting, your engine runs stronger, smoother, and far closer to its true potential. But if you think that hidden timing map is wild, wait until you see what your engine does when you lift off the gas. Number 6. The zero fuel coasting mode. Your car uses without telling you. Here's where things get sneaky. You lift off the gas in gear, and your engine might be burning no fuel at all. Zero, nada. And if you don't know this, you might actually drive in a way that wastes fuel thinking you're saving it. When you're rolling downhill or slowing for a light, with the throttle closed and the RPM still up, your ECU shuts the injectors off completely. The engine keeps spinning because the wheels are physically turning it, and you feel that familiar engine braking tug. But inside the cylinders, nothing's firing. It's basically free motion. Most drivers never notice. The exhaust still sounds normal. The car feels normal, but the moment RPM drops too low or you tap the throttle, the injectors snap back on to keep the engine from stalling. That little on-off dance happens constantly, and it's why staying in gear while slowing down often beats coasting in neutral. Let me put that into real-world terms. If you drop to neutral, to save gas, your engine has to burn fuel just to stay idling. Maybe only a little, but it's still fuel. In gear with DFCO active, the flow drops to 0, so your fuel economy actually improves during those slowdowns. You'll catch hints of DFCO if your instant MPG display suddenly shows 0.0, or if the car's engine braking feels stronger at higher speeds and fades as RPM falls. That's the system switching in and out. Use it to your advantage. When you're approaching a stop or rolling down a short hill, let the car stay in gear and let DFCO work. It's one of the few hidden features that saves fuel, protects your brakes, and doesn't cost you a dime. And if you think that feature is protective, wait until you see how your car acts when it senses real danger. Number 5. The Limp Home Power Rescue Map. Your car prays you never need. Your engine has a secret move, but it pulls when things go really wrong, and it's the reason some drivers make it to a shop instead of blowing the motor on the highway. When this mode kicks in, your car suddenly feels like it's towing a building, no matter how hard you press the pedal. That gutless, frozen at 3000 RPM feeling is not your engine dying. It's your ECU slamming the brakes on power because it no longer trusts the data coming from a critical sensor. Maybe the throttle body signal is glitching, maybe a cam sensor went missing, maybe the coolant temp spiked. Either way, the computer panics in a smart way. It switches to a backup map with safe fuel, safe timing, and a strict torque limit. You'll know it when it happens. The dash flashes reduced engine power, the car refuses to shift normally, and suddenly you're crawling up an on-ramp at bicycle speed while everyone behind you is wondering what you're doing. It feels awful, but it's saving you from worse. A misfire that could melt your catalytic converter? An overheating event that could warp ahead? Limp mode buys you time. Behind the scenes, the ECU might be ignoring faulty readings, running fixed air-fuel ratios, or cutting turbo boost to almost nothing. It's survival mode, not performance mode. If this ever hits you, don't clear the code and pretend it's fine. Get the root cause fixed. Limp mode is meant to get you safely off the road, not carry you another 100 miles. When the engine trusts its sensors again, full power comes back, and your car stops fighting for its own life. Before we move on, hit that subscribe button because learning what your engine is really doing can save you repairs, fuel, and stress in the long run. Number 4. The hidden oil life calculator your engine uses to judge your driving. Here's the part nobody tells you. Your car has been keeping score on how you drive, and it uses that score to decide when your oil is actually worn out. Not by mileage, not by time, by how hard life has been on the engine. That little 40% oil life message isn't a timer. It's your engine quietly saying, "I've had enough." Modern ECUs track things you never think about. Every cold start, every short trip, every minute stuck idling in traffic gets logged. The oil life system watches engine temperature, load, RPM, soak time, basically all the stuff that beats oil up long before the odometer shows anything scary. If you do a lot of 5-minute grocery runs or tow in the summer heat, that percentage drops like a rock. You'll notice it when two identical cars with the same mileage show completely different oil life numbers. One driver does long highway runs and barely warms the engine twice a day. The other lives in stop-and-go traffic with constant restarts. Same miles, totally different oil stress. Think about what that feels like behind the wheel. Old oil makes the engine run hotter, a little rougher, and more prone to varnish or sludge. You might smell it after a hard drive, hot, slightly burnt. Not catastrophic yet, but heading there. The algorithm is trying to protect you from that. Follow it honestly. Don't reset it without changing the oil. Don't ignore it because an old manual says every 5,000 miles. Your engine is giving you a personalized report card based on real usage, and when you listen to it, you save money, avoid sludge disasters, and keep the engine feeling young, far longer than fixed schedules ever could. And if you think oil life is complicated, wait until you see what your coolant is really doing at cold start. Number 3, the smart warm-up strategy and split cooling trick, hiding under your hood. Here's where things get ugly. Your engine can be running cold, burning extra fuel, and wearing itself out, and your gauge will still sit perfectly normal. Modern engines don't warm up in one big loop anymore, and when this system stops behaving, you pay for it quietly. Your car now uses split cooling, separate coolant paths, electronically controlled valves, sometimes even an electric water pump. The engine decides which parts to heat first, which parts to cool harder, and when the radiator even gets to see any flow. It sounds complicated, but the goal is simple. Warm the engine fast, run it smart, and keep emissions and friction low. When everything works, you feel it. The cabin heats up quickly, the idle smooths out fast, and the temperature gauge locks into place and stays there. But one stuck open thermostat or low coolant level ruins the whole plan. Suddenly, the engine warms painfully slow, mileage drops, and the heater blows lukewarm air even though the gauge looks fine. Short trip drivers see this the most. The oil never heats enough to burn off moisture, so the dipstick starts smelling like fuel, and condensation collects under the oil cap. Split cooling is supposed to protect your engine by warming heavy parts quickly and keeping the hotter head in a safe zone. When it's defeated, air pockets, bad valves, wrong routing, you're basically driving an engine with all the windows open in winter. Check your coolant level, fix weak thermostats early, and don't ignore slow warm-ups. A properly working split cooling system is one of the silent reasons some engines last 300,000 miles, while others fade out early. And once you understand how it warms up, you'll appreciate the secret move it uses when it's drowning in fuel. Number 2, the clear flood pedal override your car hides in plain sight. Here's a scary thought. The harder you press the gas during a hard start, the less fuel your engine might actually be getting. And if you don't know why, you can easily drain your battery, foul your plugs, and end up thinking your engine is done for. A modern engine can still flood. Too much fuel in the cylinders, plugs soaked, mixture too rich to fire. It happens after repeated failed starts, cold mornings, or those quick move it 2 feet shutdowns. You get that raw fuel smell at the tailpipe, the starter drags, and the engine just refuses to light. That's when the ECU waits for your secret signal. Hold the pedal all the way down while cranking, and most fuel-injected cars flip into clear flood mode. The injectors cut way back or shut off completely, even though your foot is telling the car full throttle. The engine gulps in fresh air through the open throttle, dries the cylinders, and pushes the excess fuel out, so the plugs have a chance to spark again. Drivers who don't know this keep cranking, keep adding more fuel, and make the problem worse. I've seen engines so washed down that compression drops until the cylinders finally dry out. Used correctly, clear flood can save you from pulling plugs on the side of the road or calling for a tow. But if you need it often, that's a red flag. Leaky injectors, bad temperature sensors, or fuel pressure issues are lurking. So remember the move. Foot to the floor, crank a few seconds, release, then start normally. It's a quiet handshake between you and the ECU that can turn a dead engine into an instant recovery. And if you think clearing a flood is sneaky, wait until you learn how your car hides misfires in plain sight. Number 1, the idle smoother and motor misfire masking logic working behind your back. Your engine can be shaking, stumbling, and missing tiny combustion events, and you won't feel a thing. The ECU irons it all out so smoothly me that by the time you notice a rough idle, the problem is already far down the road, and usually far more expensive. At idle, the ECU behaves like a hyperactive babysitter. It's constantly tweaking airflow through the throttle or idle valve, nudging spark timing a few degrees back and forth, and adjusting fuel trims every second just to keep the RPM needle steady. You hear a calm idle, but under the hood, it's a juggling act. Here's the twist. This smoothing can hide early problems. A weak coil, a slightly clogged injector, or a tiny vacuum leak will make one cylinder pull a little less. Instead of letting you feel the shake, the ECU adds a bit of timing here, more air there, richer fuel somewhere else, and the engine sounds fine. Meanwhile, a misfire counter in the background is quietly ticking up. That's why so many drivers say, the idle feels normal, but the check engine light says misfire. The ECU can detect micro slowdowns in crankshaft rotation that you'd never feel in the seat. It sees trouble long before your senses do. And once the adaptive corrections hit their limit, the mask falls off fast. Sudden stalling at lights, surging idle, or that unmistakable steering wheel shake. If this happens, don't shrug it off, because the car still runs okay. Fix the root cause early. Plugs, coils, injectors, vacuum leaks before a simple misfire cooks the catalytic converter or leaves you stranded. A smooth idle doesn't always mean a healthy engine. Sometimes it's just the ECU hiding the symptoms until it can't anymore. Now that you know these 7 hidden engine features, don't blow it at the gas pump. Our next video exposes the refueling mistake almost everyone gets wrong. Watch it before your next fill up.